Welcome to the Revolution Dentistry Podcast. Welcome to the Revolution Dentistry Podcast, you guys. Today we have another special episode here. It's just a short one with Sarah Riordan. Okay, thank you so much for joining us today, Sarah.
Thank you for having me.
Just a little bit about her. She is a treatment coordinating expert. She was the first person in ClearChoice history to reach $1 million the quickest. Okay, and that's not all that she has done in her career. So could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Sure. So I'm Sarah, and I was a treatment coordinator for several years. I started off as a traveler. I was the first person that traveled to hit $1 million, and then also broke that record as the quickest to do it. So I was about a month into it when I hit $1 million. The office that I worked at was generating about $400,000 a month in arch revenue, and within 90 days we were doing $1 million a month.
Oh my gosh.
And doubled the revenue from the year previous.
Oh my gosh.
And I got into it because my mother had treatment.
Really?
So I saw how much it changed her life.
Yeah.
And I knew at that moment that I could definitely talk to others and wanted to help people get what she got. You know, it was a life-changing experience, and I feel like everyone deserves that.
Absolutely. That's so incredible. What a great story. Okay. So correct me if I'm wrong, but you also have trained treatment coordinators on how to close all-on-X cases in your career.
Absolutely.
So what would you say is the most critical thing that a treatment coordinator needs to make sure that they're doing to have the best kind of success?
So there's two things I think that are very critical that a lot are kind of missing the mark on. One is thinking outside the box. You have other funding opportunities other than just healthcare financing.
Okay.
And a lot of coordinators think, oh, well, if they're not approved, then we don't have a chance. But there are so many different financial pathways that we can explore in order to get the patient the help they need.
Okay.
And then the other thing is follow-ups. About 40% of the revenue should come from follow-ups. And so a lot of times treatment coordinators, if they don't start the person that day, for whatever, they're unable to get them started in the future. So having a consistent follow-up plan to work with patients to get them the help that they need, whether it's because they need to talk to a support person or whether they're building and working on their credit or whatever the case may be, just having a consistent plan in order to still help that patient, whether it's today or 90 days from now.
Interesting. Okay. So then, I heard someone say that one of the main reasons why patients don't accept treatment such as all-on-X is because more than one offer is being presented to them. And so it kind of muddies up the water, makes them feel like, oh my gosh, there's so much now to think about. Is that an issue that you've seen also, with the treatment coordinators that you've trained? And do you feel like it's important to just solely focus on one offer when you're presenting?
Well, actually, I usually like to have an alternate solution. We definitely want to prioritize what's going to be best for the patient, which is typically all-on-X.
Yeah.
But sometimes maybe the top arch is worse than the bottom, and it's better to start somewhere than not start at all, right?
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we have pathways to reach their ultimate goal.
Okay.
If we're, aiming for the moon and we land on a star, we're still doing something great for the patient, right? And so I do also believe just really knowing the knowledge of your doctor so that you can, if they are, for instance, exploring other practices, you can let them know and really educate them on what sets us apart versus anyone else and why they need to work with us opposed to somewhere else. And so just really building the value in your doctor and the practice and the experience is very beneficial as well.
Love it. I love that. What are some of the most common reasons that a patient rejects a treatment plan, and how can a treatment coordinator go about combating this?
So primarily, most of the patients come in and they want it, right? So typically, if they don't get the treatment, it's because they either didn't get finance, they didn't get the approval, or the payment's just too high. And so really, it's just getting creative to figure out different pathways as far as what's going to work best for the patient outside of just a high monthly payment rate, right?
Okay. No, that makes total sense. So then, I feel like with the all-on-X market, there are, a lot of patients who, like you mentioned, are having a hard time conceptualizing spending $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on treatment. And a lot of people feel like that's the biggest barrier to cross.
Right.
Not only the patient, but the treatment coordinator, right? When they're having to overcome that. Now, would you say that the best way to overcome that would be to present a financing option that has like the lowest amount per month that they'd have to pay, or do you think that it's more important to focus on a patient's credit score so they can get better, interest rates on that financing, or there's so many different components to make it more palatable? What would you say is the best?
I think you really need to cater to the patient specifically. While one patient might come in and their biggest concern is that high interest rate, finding them a lower interest rate might be a higher payment, but lower. And then others are working on a fixed income and need it at a certain amount. And then also really honing in on the health. A lot of times I hear patients say, "Gosh, that's the price of a car." And from a
nice
from a
car.
treatment from a treatment coordinator standpoint, a lot of times, that's defeating. But you really just have to hone in on the fact that this is not just a cosmetic procedure because I want pretty teeth.
Yes.
This is an infection running through your body, getting into your bloodstream that can cause you to potentially have a stroke or a problem where you can't work anymore, right? So just realizing that this isn't something that I'm electing that I want to do, it's something that I need to do.
Okay, I love that.
And so they understand that we've got to figure this out no matter what.
Yeah.
It's like, if my right arm was cut off and they said it's $100,000 to put it on, well, I don't have $100,000, but I sure would figure it out because I need my arm, right? It's kind of the same thing.
I mean, you need teeth.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, really want a permanent and beautiful option that they don't have to think twice about ever again.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, and that's just the bonus. You need health first and foremost, right? And your mouth is the root of your body. So
Yes.
whether your head hurts or your toe hurts,
Yes.
they're giving you medicine to put in your mouth. So if you've got a disease in your mouth or infection, that's flowing through your body the same way any kind of pill would, right? And
Absolutely.
but the added bonus is you get the smile of your dreams to boot.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love it. So then, just to kind of like wrap things up here, what would you tell a treatment coordinator, or what is like your one golden nugget, if you would, about helping a treatment coordinator close more efficiently? Is there anything in addition to what you've already mentioned that you feel like would be helpful?
Really, I think just, really getting creative. That's the
Okay.
main thing, is just getting creative, not taking no for an answer. You are their guiding light, right? You're
Yeah.
the person that they're hoping is going to help them change their life and make them healthy and live longer.
Yeah.
And so make it your mission, whatever it takes, and don't just settle. No matter what, there's going to be times where you can, try every pathway and you think you've exhausted it, and then you just really need to dive in and get a little bit more comfortable talking to the patient about their personal life. Who are you the closest to? Maybe we get the doctor on the phone to speak
Yeah.
with them and review the scans so that they can
Right.
see how vital this is for you to get the treatment necessary. So just not giving up is the
Okay.
main thing. No
giving
matter
up.
what, if one pathway doesn't work, there's another one. We can work together and figure that out.
I love it. So then, for a doctor who's trying to set their treatment coordinator up for success and get them the proper training, what would you recommend to a doctor who's trying to get their treatment coordinator to that level, right? So like maybe a training program, or I know going through reps is also helpful, right? Getting
Yeah.
experience, but like what would you say would be the most helpful?
Incentivizing them. I mean,
Okay.
honestly, they're, we're all here because we have to make a paycheck and
Yeah.
feed our families, right?
Right.
And so if you incentivize them in a way, the more people they help, the more money they make. I mean, putting a plan together that way, and then maybe even like contests. We get really close to the patients, and there's patients that it's just absolutely heartbreaking that you can help. So maybe do a 90-day contest, and if you hit this particular number, I'm going to let you give a free arch to your patient of your choice,
Wow,
right? So
that's
things like
powerful.
that. Yes, absolutely. I mean, when I first started with ClearChoice, the first conference I went to, they announced a program like that, and
Yeah.
it was a 90-day contest, and if you
Yeah.
hit this certain number, you were able to give away a free treatment.
Right.
And almost the whole office, or the whole conference was in tears because everybody could relate and think, gosh, my mom, my sister, my aunt, that one patient, we all had someone in mind immediately that we wanted nothing more than to help them. So now you have that opportunity and you just have to work hard to get it. And
that.
it's a win-win for the doctor too, because you're generating more revenue, doing more arches in order to compensate for that. So everybody wins, the patient
So
first and
great.
foremost, as well as the staff.
That's a great, it's a great program to
Yeah.
incentivize the treatment coordinator. Like, hey, I know that you have someone in your life that you would really love to bless this with.
Yes.
Whether that's a relative or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, get to this point, we'll give away a free arch.
Yeah.
Who do you want to bless?
Yes, exactly.
That's so powerful.
That's
I
huge.
love that.
Yeah.
My goodness. Okay, well, go ahead, Gardner.
Before we close out here, if any treatment coordinator wanted to reach out to you for advice or anything like that, maybe there's a website they could go to
Absolutely.
or an email. What would that be?
So I work for the Implant Efficiency Institute, and they can go to our site or email me directly, Sarah, SARAH, @implantefficiency.com. And I'd love to help anytime. I mean, ultimately, we're all here for the same purpose, which is to help the patients, right? And so whatever I can do to help patients is really what, I'm passionate about.
Awesome. We appreciate you coming on here, Sarah.
Yeah.
This has been the Revolution Dentistry Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We're here every week to help you grow, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Sarah.